Alexa, how long until the Berlin Marathon?
The Berlin Marathon will start in 2 weeks, 4 days, and 15 hours on the 22nd of September 2024.
So good morning, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got a full day of training for the Berlin Marathon, which is in just 19 days. I'm still struggling a little bit with a niggle in my hip / lower back that I picked up maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. But today I've got a threshold session on the treadmill, followed by either a 90-minute bike or 45-minute elliptical this evening, depending on the weather, which at the moment looks pretty grim out there. But yeah, basically in today's video I'm going to go over a little bit about my new training philosophy and the sort of model that I'm following going into some marathons this year. I've got Berlin coming up in just 19 days, but the big goal this year is to push on for something really fast in Valencia, which is in the first week of December. Hopefully by then I'll be back to full fitness, and that's the one where I'm really going to put this new training to the test. So, Berlin Marathon is in 19 days, as I said, which I know is not long in the grand scheme of things, and training over the last few weeks has looked a little bit different, put it that way. I picked up an injury about 3.5 weeks ago. Definitely moving on in terms of my body's recovering slowly but surely, and I'm just slowly building things back. Went to the physio last week, and I'm back to running 2 days on, 1 day off. I can't really do too much speed work on the flat at the moment because it seems to aggravate my hip. But what I have been doing is quite a lot of incline treadmill running. Interestingly, as soon as I put the incline up on the treadmill, it takes a lot of pressure off my hips and my pelvis area, which is where I've been getting the most of my discomfort. And to be honest, I can run pain-free. So it's a bit of a shame that Berlin's such a fast and flat marathon course. If it was a hilly course, maybe I'd be doing a little bit better. But all jokes aside, I've still been waking up every day with the goal of training hard for this marathon and trying to get in the best shape possible for the start line. So that's been a lot of biking, a lot of elliptical, and a little bit of running. So I think last week I did a total of 15 hours of training, which is probably one of the biggest training weeks I've ever done. I found with the bike you need to get out for a little bit longer than you usually would, say if you were going for a run. I don't know if anyone else out there has tried using biking for cross-training purposes, but I find that around 45 minutes of running equates to around an hour and 20, an hour and a half even of biking in terms of getting the same training load. So that's been my sort of last 3-4 weeks going into Berlin. We've got just over 2.5 weeks to go. I'm hoping over the next few weeks I can build up my running again to the point where I can cover the 42.2 distance. But I'm obviously aware that I'm not going to be in top shape come Berlin, which is why it's nice to have a longer term goal of Valencia as well. So before I head off to the gym, I just want to show you the new headphones that I've been trying out over the last few weeks. These are from Shokz, the Open Run Pro 2. I previously used the Open Run Pros, which were a great pair of headphones that I've used over the last year and a half. But I've since upgraded to the Shokz Open Run Pro 2s. So just a little bit about them. They're the same sort of bone conducting technology. They don't actually go in your ears, but they've got this new system called dual pitch, which basically is the biggest difference between the old ones and the new ones, which use bone conducting technology, but also air conduction. So you get some audio come through into your ear canals like you would with regular headphones. So basically they've improved the quality of the music that you can hear through your headphones considerably. Like the bass of songs is a lot more clear, and I've actually found that listening to podcasts is now a lot clearer through these new ones compared to the previous ones, which has been really good for me because I love listening to podcasts out on a run. And they also last for 12 hours, which is incredible. And if you do forget to charge them, you can whack them on for 5 minutes like I did this morning, and you can get 2.5 hours of playtime with that quick charge via the new USB-C connection. So a big thanks to Shokz for sponsoring today's video. Head down to the link in the description if you'd like to find out a little bit more about these wicked headphones that I've been using for cycling, running, gym work, yoga, the lot. They've been really good so far, so I would highly recommend picking a pair up if you're looking for some new running headphones. So today's workout is 15 minutes at LT1 followed by 20 times 1 minute at LT2. Now this is a workout that's been set by my coach following the sort of more Norwegian threshold model in which you have 2 lactate turn points, which I refer to as LT1 and LT2. I'm going to try and quickly explain what they mean in sort of layman terms if you've never heard of it before. So LT1 is basically your first lactate turn point. This is when you go from sort of like a resting lactate and you see that first incline in your lactate through testing. If you don't know what lactate is, or lactic acid, it's a byproduct of glycolysis, or when glucose breaks down to form ATP that you can then use in your exercise during your training. The more intense your training, the quicker the rate of glycolysis, and the more lactic acid is produced basically. So LT1 is the first lactate turn point. It's quite a low intensity, but it's the first time where your body switches from sort of burning fats to burning carbohydrate, and it's the first sort of training zone that you want to focus on for this training philosophy basically. And then the second threshold is LT2, or your anaerobic threshold. The first LT1 is sort of more of an aerobic threshold. The second is an anaerobic threshold. So this is like almost the point of no return. This is when your lactic acid will spike. You go from basically burning fats to completely burning carbohydrate during intense exercise. Lactic acid will build up in the muscles to the point where it will build up so much that you'll have to slow down basically. People originally thought that lactic acid was what causes you to slow down or causes muscle soreness, but it's actually been found not to be the actual factor that causes it, but it is kind of like an indicator of fatigue basically. So if you've got really high lactic acid, your body has been working really hard anaerobically, and eventually your body won't be able to supply the demand and you'll have to slow down. So basically, in short, what this training model does is tries to improve both those lactic turn points to a point where the speed that you're running at those lactate turn points increases. So today we've got a session that focuses on both LT1 and LT2. We've got 15 minutes at a lower intensity, which for me is around 162 beats per minute. So it's more of a steady effort. I think in terms of paces, it's around 340, 335 per kilometer. So about 10 to 20 seconds slower than my marathon pace. And then those LT2 efforts are closer to almost like my 10K pace. And that again is the anaerobic turn point. So we're kind of doing a bit of both in today's session. It should be a good tester, and that sort of heart rate for the LT2 for me is around 170. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of what these zones mean. The idea of this training model is to do a lot more work at your LT1 and LT2 at these sort of sensible training intensities to then be able to increase your training volume and to improve your lactate thresholds, which allow you to run faster over the course of every distance basically, but more specifically for the marathon, which is where the LT1 becomes much more of a greater importance for the longer duration events. So I hope that sort of explains it a little bit about today's session, where ultimately I've gone from doing these hard workouts 2 or 3 times a week to doing these more moderate workouts, but I can do a lot more of the overall volume, if that makes sense. So the training has got easier in terms of I'm not running as fast, but the volume of training at these intensities has increased. But anyway, that's enough geeky science for you. I'm going to get in the car, head down to the treadmill and get this session done. So I got a little bit of Mac Miller going in the ears already this morning. He's my sort of go-to artist when it comes to treadmill sessions. Maybe a little bit of Foles and Loyal Kana thrown in there as well. I've got a playlist called Benji Vibes on Spotify. Maybe I'll leave a link down below if you want to go check it out. I kind of like indie rock, that sort of genre of music. And then for my easy runs, I'll listen to podcasts. I'm listening to a new one at the moment called Runners FM, which is actually by my coach, Victor, and then Inside Running is another really good one, and then Sunday Podcast are probably my 3 most listened to Spotify playlists. But yeah, today on the treadmill I'll listen to a little bit of indie rock to get me through the session, and then I'll let you know how it goes afterwards. There we go. Lovely little workout there on the treadmill. Kept things sensible and managed to hit pretty much my targets for the lactate. So it's all good in terms of getting the right training effect. I'm still using the incline treadmill at the moment. 5% gradient today after weaning myself off. It was 8% last week, so we're slowly coming down and trying to return to some flat running pretty soon. But yeah, all in all, really chuffed with that workout. I'm now going to go and see if my friend Joe is at the barber's to try and sort this mess out. Yeah, let it grow out, but I think it's time to go back to something a little bit shorter, at least on the sides. I think I'm going to go for a buzz cut over the top as well, to be fair. But yeah, good sesh, get a haircut, have some food, and then maybe a little nap and get ready to do a little bit of cross training this afternoon. So, I may regret this, but ta-da! The buzz cut's back. Me and my barber, Joe, shout out to Joe for sorting me out with a sick trim, decided that basically ever since I've had long hair, I've been picking up lots of niggles, and it must have been slowing me down. I reckon it was something to do with the aerodynamics. Moving through the air must have been adjusting my running form a little bit. So yeah, shaved it all off. It's going to take a little bit of getting used to again. I've got an awful tan line where my hair was covering my forehead, so I might be in a hat for a little bit longer. But yeah, I'm just cooking some dinner now, some lunch, and then I will talk you through the session and also go through maybe a week of training whilst I've been injured and been trying to maintain some sort of marathon fitness. Despite being injured, I've still been able to keep pretty active, and I've been aiming for around 2 hours of cross training or a little bit of running every day, and that accumulated to 16 hours. So I'm going to jump quickly on Strava and I'll talk you through it. I have decided for the first 3 weeks of this injury just to take a little bit of time away from Strava. I found when I had my last injury that there's just a lot of comments about what I should and shouldn't do, lots of advice, and to be honest with you, when you get it daily, it just becomes a little bit overwhelming. Sometimes it was getting me down a little bit, seeing people say, oh, you really need to be careful doing this because when I had this, it led to this, and so on. So I decided, just for my own mental health really, to come off Strava for the first few weeks of my injury. So yeah, I'm really happy with the way things are progressing. I'm just keeping things sensible. As you saw today with the incline on the treadmill, that just helps take some of the load off my pelvis, which is where I've been finding the most of my discomfort. So anyway, let's talk through last week of training. So here we go, 16 hours and 1 minute total of training. Here you can see my training load, 280 kilometers of total distance on both the bike and running. Let's go back to last Monday. So this was 3 weeks after the injury. I did my first run on the Monday. It was a 4 kilometer, I called it plod test. I ran around the block at 5:20 per kilometre, and I've got written here, hip pain was 1 or 2 out of 10, and 34 days till Berlin. So when the initial pain came on during that 5K race, I would say the pain was around 5 or 6 out of 10. It quickly eased off, and I've been feeling a little bit of discomfort when going up the stairs. But this is my first run back after, I think, a few days prior to that. I hadn't had any pain at all. So I was keen just to see how the body was feeling, and I got the all clear to do that from the physio. Ran 4 kilometers in the morning. Could tell I still wasn't quite right, but definitely much better than I had been, which was a really good sign. And then I did a 30 kilometer ride in the evening on the bike. But then on to Tuesday, that day I actually cycled from our house to the gym. And here you can see on all of my activities, it tells me the training load. So 50 training load. That's the equivalent of running around probably 8K easy running for me. It basically calculates your heart rate based through your watch and the heart rate monitor that I wear from Coros, and it gives me a training load, which has been really helpful when I've been injured to sort of make sure that I'm basically training to the same intensity as I was before, but just without the impact. So I cycled to the gym. I then did my first session back, which was 6 times 3 minutes at LT2. So as I said earlier about lactate thresholds, that's at an anaerobic threshold. So I did a total of 6 times 3, what's that? 6, 12, 18 minutes at LT2 with 15 minutes warm up, cool down either side on the treadmill. And I think I used an 8% gradient to reduce the impact. And then I cycled home from the gym on the Tuesday. Onto the Wednesday, I did some of my physio work. It took me around half an hour, mainly adductor and abductor and adductors, so the sort of lateral movement of your hip is what I've been working on. I then did a 30-minute easy run on the treadmill, again 8% gradient. Maybe I would have, looking back, taken that run out of my routine just to maybe not have a consecutive run days there because it wasn't really necessary. And then in the evening I did 90 minutes on the bike. On to Thursday, it was my first proper session back after the sort of mini session I did on the Tuesday. This was a 5 by 10 minutes, more of a marathon session. What I tried to do here with this session is replicate 5 by 3K that I would do out on the road. Used 8% gradient again. First reps at 11, and then I moved it up to 11.5 just to make sure my heart rate was in that LT1 zone, which for me is around 160. Friday morning I did a very easy elliptical session in the morning, followed by 4 times 1 minute sort of strides, basically just try and get the heart rate up a little bit towards the end and just practice turning over my legs. On the Friday evening, I actually rode on the bike. I had a new toy I've got written here. Coros very kindly sent me their new bike computer, the Dura. On Saturday, I went and brought a new bike on Facebook, found a really decent bike actually. It's specialised for about 50 quid. Well, 50 quid exactly. I did some general maintenance on it in the morning and then took it out for a 2-hour, 39-minute ride. My longest ride since I've been cycling, which was 65 kilometres. And I also did a session that evening on the treadmill, again with the incline, 4 times 12 minutes at LT1. So 3 really good sessions this week. All on the treadmill, all with limited impact. I think just for reference, I don't think I ran any faster than maybe 4 minutes 30 per kilometre on these sessions. But with the incline treadmill, it just makes it a lot harder and I'm able to get my heart rate into the right zones. And I was taking lactate samples just to make sure that I was getting these sessions right. And then onto the Sunday, I did my longest flat run since injury, which was 9 kilometres of running. And to be honest with you, after that run in the afternoon, I felt a little bit of aggravation in my hip. So it was just a bit of a reminder really to take things easy and not push things too far. I thought I was coming out of the woods, but maybe that was an ever so slight setback. And hence yesterday I took a day off from running and today felt really good. So I think it's just learning where my body's at, not pushing things too far. And then on the Sunday evening, I also did some yoga with my partner Meg and also my physio routine again. So all in all, pretty happy with that week of training. It looks a little bit different from my usual 100-mile weeks, which I like to tick off when I am training for a big race. I think I am going to have to adjust the goals going into to Berlin, especially, which is in 19 days time. I'm not going to be in 2:24 shape, which is what I was hoping to be in. I'm just going to have to see where my body sort of is at in the next few weeks and then make a bit more of a judgment there. I'm just looking basically to tick Berlin off. Been on my bucket list for a little while, being a world major, and I've got a really good opportunity this year with a hotel company to do it. So it's not one I want to drop out of. I'm not going to be in my best shape, but it's just kind of realising that, adjusting the goals a little bit and still trying to make the most out of that trip as I can, because Meg's coming with me, and I'm really looking forward to the 5 days that we've got planned in Berlin as well, a little bit of a holiday for us both. So my lunch is now ready, heard the microwave ping, so I'm just going to get that down me, and then I might take a little bit of a nap before doing, I think, probably a bike or elliptical session this afternoon, depending on what the weather does. Did you see the door in that last clip? I think I've got a ghost. 3, 2, 1.
Oh my god.
Oh.
Ah! Look at that little turn from a little.
I know, it's terrible.
It's cute, your little curls coming like that. I like it, but I also do like the little thing you had going on here.
Now, where are we going, Megs?
Pizza.
What?
Pizza.
I can't hear you.
Pizza. Is this going to be a crime?
Mm-hmm. No, go for it.
I'm putting it on the side though. So what have you been up to today?
I'm vlogging.
Oh.
Hence why that camera's there.
Oh, is that filming?
Yeah, it is filming. And this little thing here, right? This little thing, it does our audio. And you can talk into it.
That's really cringy.
Yeah, it is a little bit, but you know, get used to it. What are we watching on Netflix at the minute, Meg?
Brazic. It's really good. I love it, and I hope it doesn't end. But I don't actually know how many seasons there is. We're on season 2.
Yeah, it's pretty damn good. That's it for today's vlog. Make sure you get some headphones from Shocks via the link in the description. Sponsor of today's video.
Lovely.
Anything else?
Here we go. I don't know.
Okay, brilliant. Aspire to run to inspire, and we'll see you again soon. Bosh.